WLRN Video presents.
Welcome to a WLRN extended interview. I'm April No. In this video, you will hear WLRN's newest member, Mer Safina, interviewing Thistle Pettersen about her experiences of dance and gymnastics in her childhood, her adventures on the West Coast and with ecstatic dance practice as an adult, and her feminist analysis of dance in general. Thistle Pettersen founded our grassroots feminist news collective in May 2016 after interviewing Sheila Jeffries on Wart 89.9 FM community radio station in Madison in 2014. She was subsequently banned from the station for doing that interview for a period of 2 months. Her proposal to do a regular feminist news show on the community radio station was rejected, so she founded our feminist-powered station online. Thistle is a singer-songwriter, environmental activist, and radical feminist living and working out of Madison, Wisconsin. Enjoy.
Hi, Thistle. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to do my first WLRN interview with you, and I cannot wait to hear about your experience in dance. So let's just jump into it. When did you begin dancing?
Hi, thank you so much, Mer. It's really exciting to be onboarding a new volunteer in this way. So when did I start dancing? I think as soon as I was born, I was singing and dancing. I remember riding on the back of my dad's bicycle and like dancing and singing and making up all of these patterns and songs with my body and with my voice. And my dad tells me that it was just a delight, that maybe the motion of the wheels on the bicycle and all the scenery passing by would just get me into this space where I moved my body and I chirped out a song like a little bird, he said, on the back of the bike.
So it sounds like even as a child, you were passionate about learning to move your body and grow in space.
Definitely. I joined the gymnastics team really early on. I would say I was probably in like the first or the second grade when I joined a gym outside of school to learn how to do gymnastics, competitive gymnastics.
And so what was that like as a competitive gymnast? I imagine that was a lot of hours of training and maybe some even ad hoc strength training and dance work as well.
Yeah, well, when I first started doing gymnastics, I was located in Texas, and the gym that I went to there was pretty mellow. So even though we were learning difficult tricks, and that's what you call them, like on the beam or on the floor, and we were definitely being challenged, it just had a more relaxed atmosphere. And then plus I was moved up to Wisconsin in the 6th grade. So that might have had something to do with why it became a really horrible experience for me. The gym that I enrolled in here in Wisconsin was very, very rigid and competitive. They were trying to prepare the girls for the Olympics, you know, and the gym down in Texas, it just felt more like we were hanging out and learning these fun ways to express ourselves with our bodies. And the competition, like I said, was there and the training was there, but it just the atmosphere wasn't so strict and competitive. And so then when I moved up to Wisconsin in the 6th grade and I joined the gymnastics team at this gym that I was enrolled in, it just became really intense. And I started developing an eating disorder because I think that's really common among girls who get involved in dance and gymnastics or any, you know, or ice skating, a lot of sports actually, but especially like gymnastics and dance, because your body is the instrument and you're on display. And so I was having to go every day, like leaving school early, with this special little entourage of gymnasts to go to the gym, to work, to train. And then sometimes once a week we would go to a ballet studio, and it was it was very demanding. And I think with the move from Texas up to Wisconsin, and then with the change of culture, with this gym being so much more competitive, and also when you walked into the lobby as a young gymnast, they had an early computer. This was in the 1980s, and you would type in what you had eaten that day, and it would tell you your calorie intake, and then you would discuss it with the gym coach, and it's like, I don't know, it just wasn't fun anymore. And so I left. I dropped out of the competitive side of the gym, and I went over to the more, because they had another side of the gym. There was the lobby in between, and there was the competitive Olympic side, the lobby, and then there was the side where it was just like girls and young women, like hanging out, and we would talk about our hair and stuff too, and then we would stretch and we would do gymnastics because we loved it, and it was an expression and it felt good, so that's my experience of doing gymnastics.
Yeah, I think that's a really common story that I hear, is that girls develop a passion for dance or gymnastics or figure skating, and then they get pushed on this pre-professional path, and it's very challenging for them when they just love doing something. Talk to me a little bit about that transition into dance. I know that you're interested and do ecstatic dance. What drew you into that practice?
Well, I think I was drawn to ecstatic dance because I had done a bicycle tour for a long time. I was riding my bike across the country on various tours with other activists and singer-songwriters and performers. And I went down the West Coast on the Gas Fast tour with another singer-songwriter, and we performed at all these little venues like cafes and bars and stuff like that, on the journey for like 2 months. And then after it was over, I ended up staying in Northern California because I just loved it. It was so beautiful there, and the people were friendly, and I stayed. I was still on the adventure, and I wasn't sure what to do next, just to be completely honest. But anyway, so there I was in Garberville, Northern California, and there was a woman that I met, a young woman, who she also was arriving to Northern California. A lot of people kind of come through that area off of the Highway 101. And she had connections and in the community. And she was starting an ecstatic dance practice once a week on Sundays, right when church would happen, at a community center down a winding road into the hills of Northern California. And she invited me to be a part of that weekly practice. And we did it for 9 months on Sundays. And she took care of everything. She would create, and it was very spiritual for her. In fact, she kind of became like a pastor type figure. I grew up in the Lutheran church. And even though she was much younger than me, she sort of fulfilled that role. Like I saw her in that way, because she would put a lot of thought into and design into the music. And then we would like have this ritual where we would sit in a circle and set our intentions for the dance. And then after we've set our intentions without words, and a lot of times the music didn't have words either, and she wanted it to be that way. So you'd hear everybody's intention for the dance, and it was like our prayers that we were putting into our dance. And And then you'd have this space with no words to dance your intention and to feel the intentions of all the other people in the room. No touching. It was a safe, protected, sacred space. And so there were men there, and there were times when I noticed, you know, the male gaze, of course, but and later, actually, I wanted to do this same practice in a women-only space and see how that would change it, which I'm sure it would, you know, it would make it better. Like what Alexa Sunshine Rose, that was the name of the leader of our group, what she intended and what she created was a sacred space, but it wasn't women only. And I did notice at times men, you know, looking at the women in ways that made me feel uncomfortable, or me putting my body, you know, doing things in ways that I wouldn't if I wasn't aware of the male gaze, you know. And I always wanted to take her practice that she taught me and do it in a women only space. And I've never been able to do that because people think it's hateful for women to come together in that way, which leads me to believe that it's so powerful. If women were able to come together in ecstatic dance regularly in a sacred, safe place, those women would be transformed in a way that we would have so much more power, and we'd be so much more in touch with our personal power and ability to express and manifest our dreams through dance, that it would be a threat to patriarchy, you know? So obviously there have been so many obstacles put in my way by men and women, primarily women, to doing a women only practice of ecstatic dance. But so that's how I got interested in it. And, you know, putting the male gaze aside, those 9 months with Alexa and the way that she organized that space, wow, it was incredible how integrated I felt. And in my body, like I am my body. It's, you know, a lot of times I feel like we live from the neck up. And during that 9-month period, especially towards the end, I really felt like my whole self was my body, is my body, you know. And then we also bonded as a group, and there are kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, but spiritual or emotional or psychological or even psychic aspects of dance. And so we could feel each other's moves before they would happen, and we would, oh my gosh, it was just so beautiful. It was such a great experience. Alexa Sunshine Rose, I'll always remember her.
That's incredible to hear. I'm a little bit jealous. I want to partake in something like that. And I'm also wondering, you spoke a little bit about how there might have been a mind-body split, right? When you're thinking about one type of dance, but when you're able to do this ecstatic dance, you're bringing the mind and the body together in a way that's really powerful. How can that also be transformed into a feminist act?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we as women especially are taught throughout our lifetimes growing up that the body is, you know, it's something to be fought, and it's especially during puberty, you know, we feel dirty, we feel ashamed of our bodies, and so that mind-body split can be a way for women to survive that, you know. But maybe once we've gotten beyond puberty and we're into adulthood, a feminist goal would be to bring our minds and our bodies back together in a safe space, in order to tap into our body's power and the messages that the body has for us. So, yeah, I mean, I totally understand why there is a mind-body split for women under patriarchy that I just remember growing up as an adolescent and just really hating my body, you know, and I think a lot of girls feel that way. It's like, how can you not, when there are all these images of like perfect women, you know, in the media, or even too skinny women, but you just can never measure up, you know. So that mind-body split, I think, happens. And then the feminist way of approaching dance is to try to get the mind and the body to come back together so that you can have an integrated experience of yourself.
And I think that's very powerful, having that integrated experience and knowing who you are. Our bodies are always telling us and sending us messages, but when do we have the time to listen? It sounds like this form of dance is a great way to center yourself and listen. And it also seems like dance performance, anything from exotic dance to maybe more traditional ballet, is specifically created for the male gaze. So how does this ecstatic dance practice that you've done, how does that differ?
Yeah, I would say that the ecstatic dance that I learned from Alexa Rose was about coming from the inside and expressing out, as opposed to a choreographer from the outside imposing his vision onto you that you then express. So in ecstatic dance practice, what I would do, and what I feel like Alexa was teaching us, was to look inward, find out what's going on inside of you today that you're working on and that you want to figure out, that you have a question about, and ask for your dance to reveal some answers or help you reflect and bring you greater peace about that question, you know? And so it comes from the inside and it's expressed outwardly. And it's expressed not for the male gaze or for anyone's gaze, really. It's expressed for your own knowledge and awareness of who you are and what you're going through, and you know, or just because it feels good. It feels so good to set an intention and then allow your unconscious mind and your body to just be the driver, and you're relaxing and you're just, you know, and then you learn something. You might learn something. You might do a move that's not coming from choreography imposed from the outside, but it comes from within, and it shows you something. It reveals you something. It gives you insight that you may not have had if you hadn't participated in ecstatic dance.
Incredible. Thank you for that answer. And as we wrap up here, what is your advice to women who want to dance, but maybe just aren't sure about how to get started?
Oh, well, I think just find music that you like, you know, and then turn it on and dance in your living room, and just, you know, maybe set an intention. Like maybe you have a question about your job or something in your life, and you could say, I intend for my dance to help me explore my feelings about my job, you know, and meditate on that for a moment, put on the music, and then just do it. You know, don't like stay out of your head, get out of your head and see what happens, you know?
And how would you recommend someone does that? When you say get out of your head, where do you start? Where do you start getting out of your head in that first minute of dance?
Well, I mean, the way that we would do it, the way Alexa planned it, is that you would start at a lower vibration, and the rhythm and the sounds of the music would not be so like frenetic. And so you would start more slowly, and then you would work your way up to the place where you're really out of your head and you're having like an ecstatic experience, and then you would wind down from there. And the music that she put together every week would follow that pattern. So you could create your own playlist that would follow that pattern of slower music in the beginning and then building to a crescendo and then slowly taking you back down.
And it sounds like setting your intention at the beginning is really a key part of that as well.
Mm-hmm. I also recommend just dancing without music too. You know, just to, if you really want to just see where your body takes you, you know, just on its own. I feel like just moving a lot, like moving around, even if there's, I don't know, I feel like it loosens things up and allows you to think in new ways. Just because you're moving, you know, there's no like right or wrong way to do it. Just move, you know?
And your body is an instrument too. Your body can make incredible music as well. So I think that could be a really cool component too of women learning how to use their bodies and also their own rhythms as well as they're dancing. Well, Thistle, thank you so much. This has been such an informative, incredibly creative experience getting to hear about your background and passion for dance.
Thank you, Mer.
That was WLRN's newest member, Mer Safina, interviewing WLRN founding member, Thistle Pettersen, about dance. If you like what you are hearing and would like to donate to the work we do, please visit our WordPress site and click on the donate button. Thanks for listening. I'm April No. Stay strong in the struggle.